looking at 2 games this week with caution, both in Florida. We are seeing a big storm down there for the weekend. The first game is the Texans-Bucks, or Buccaneers. Yeah, Bucks, I guess, yeah. On Saturday, that's the 1 o'clock game. And then we are going to see the rain stick around to Sunday with Dolphins-Bengals.
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to rain yet in the Texans Bucks, so it's more of a wind event there.
That's why I'm not a meteorologist. I just can't read the notes either.
Yeah, and so Mike, do you actually have the West Coast pulled up?
I'll go to our website here.
Yeah, actually, this is a good tutorial. If you're looking at look at some of the maps that Mike and I look at on a weekly basis, they're actually there for you on our website. For those of you maybe weather weenies as well. And again, these all have.
You don't have to be a weather weenie. We're not going to ostracize.
But anybody that's interested in the weather and wanted to know what's going on, we have wind vector maps and mean sea level pressure precipitation maps here for you.
What would you like here, Sean?
Locations. So let's just look at the precipitation map over the West Coast.
Yeah, we'll put that.
And just because for those of you who are looking originally, we did have a caution out for the San Francisco game. We had a low pressure developing over the Pacific Northwest with a trailing front. And this is at 18Z on Saturday going to 0Z. So this is Saturday night. So this is around game time for the San Francisco and Los Angeles Rams game. And that rain band looks to be holding off to the west. So originally that had that moving in sooner. We had some concerns from rain, which I was excited about because there was a lot to talk about there. Both Jimmy Garoppolo and Jared Goff do not perform well in adverse weather, but it's looking like it's going to stay clear there. Maybe some wind, but nothing to be overly concerned with.
All right, let's get to the main event.
Yeah, this is the main event. This is where kind of our majority of our concern is, and it is isolated to Florida. And what we're seeing here is there's a short wave that dipped down over the Gulf, and we have a low formation happening. And this is going to be happening basically tomorrow into Saturday. So what we're looking at here is 18Z on Saturday. So this is actually game time according to the GFS. And what you're looking at is precipitation, so darker colors indicating more precipitation, more rain. And this is actually, Mike, if you back it up one time step there, that is for the Bucks and Houston game. So you can see based on the stadium location for Tampa, Mike, if you could point that out, that's still well to the west. But one of the things that we are thinking about for this game, and this is going to continue to deepen over the Gulf and actually occlude in northern Florida. And eventually, Mike, if you continue on here onto Sunday, this is 18Z. This is game time for Miami and the Bengals. And so what we're looking at here is a frontal passage coming through, but we're looking at possibly some convection over this area, which you're going to have to really follow us on social media Saturday into Sunday, because these are sometimes the hardest events to predict, convection.
Yeah. Social media is
we'll be constantly updating on Twitter, on Facebook, and all our social media accounts, and even our website to kind of give you the latest on what we expect for
FFWeatherguys.
Yes. At FFWeatherguys.
There you go, Sean.
It's right up there in the top left on the map. There it is.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for looking at my maps, guys.
I learn something new every day. Yeah. Mike's he kind of, he does all this. So,
well, we
Mike,
all do it. IBM, if you're listening.
Can you show the wind vector map for us?
Gotcha.
So the one concern that we have for the Tampa game, we saw that the wind is off to the west, but wind looks to be potentially higher for the Tampa game. There seems to be some model inconsistencies with how high this wind is going to be. I don't know if you can see the arrows, but the wind is going from east to west.
Yeah.
And so it's traveling across Florida, across the land before it hits Tampa. Now,
can I ask a question, Sean?
Yeah.
For the weather people or the unknowledgeable weather people like me, why does it seem that the state of Florida has less coloration other than the ocean? Like, does the winds whip around the ocean?
Yeah. So there's less friction over water. So the air is able to travel faster over the water than it does land. And that's why you see actually over the Atlantic, so just to the east of Florida, you see some greens and some yellows, but then over Florida, it turns to more blue, and then over the Gulf, you see that it turns back to these oranges and reds.
And for those who are not watching the screen on the YouTube channel, when we're talking about yellows and oranges, those are stronger wind speeds. The blues, those are lesser wind speeds.
Yeah,
and if you're not, we appreciate you listening just as much as we appreciate our viewers.
Yeah. So the main thing here is, do we need to be concerned about wind? There seems to be some, like I mentioned, some model inconsistency here. The fantasy football weather guys are tending to go on the lower wind values for this game. We're thinking around 7 to 12 miles per hour, possibly gusts getting up to 15 to 20 at times. But we think this is going to have overall not a significant impact on fantasy production.
Yeah. So to reiterate this year, the Tampa, the Buccaneers and the Texans game looks to be a win risk, but we're not super sold yet. It's going to be super strong winds. But when you get these subtropical type systems developing over the Gulf of Mexico, there's a lot of convection driving that. It can throw the models off. And this is why we're going to caution it today, just to keep an eye on it. It seems like the bigger risk now is more of the rain in Miami. But still, there's a risk with that, with convection as well. It's the same system, guys. So it's one of these short-term forecasts that we'll have to keep an eye on before the game time, and that's what we're gonna provide those updates to you guys. Yeah. So let's stop the screen here. I actually was getting a lot of questions on Twitter about this storm over the Gulf of Mexico, asking if the National Hurricane Center could potentially upgrade or name the system as a subtropical storm. So I'm not buying into that yet, but it is one of those bigger winter storms that we've seen down in the Gulf in a while. So
yeah, it is. And one of the models that we're trusting a little bit more, called the European model, the ECMWF model, is having this low deepen and occlude over Florida, which tends to result in heavier potential precipitation and stronger winds. It's just with the timing of the game in Tampa right now, we're not necessarily buying into those higher wind values, but definitely we'll be keeping an eye on the Miami game for sure, and letting you know if you need to be worried about the Devontae Parkers and the Fitzpatricks and anybody else who may be starting in that game.